Welcome, Rotarians and guests. You're going to help me out on this one. First of all, let's start our 5,446 meeting of the Rotary Club of San Jose. Here we go. Thank you, Foundation Board, for our greeting line. Thank you so much. We're going to owe them some checks. Do you want applause again? You should. All right, we're going to help me out on this one. We have a page and a half to guests, but I keep deferring this activity. Let's see if we can speed through it. Red Badgers with traveling mics. I've got Shannon Corpus today and Diana Zamora Marroquin. Are you guys still on red? Fantastic. Why don't you guys each take a moment to introduce yourself?
Hi, I'm Diana Zamora Marroquin. I'm the Senior Director of Public Affairs for Planned Parenthood Marmonte, and my sponsor is Dave Beeney.
Wonderful, thank you.
Hi there, I'm Shannon Corpus, your personal financial planner at King Wealth Planning, and my lovely sponsor is Dagmar Schildwach.
Wonderful, thank you so much. Okay, visiting Rotarians and Rotarians with guests. I'm going to have you do this time. Just tell me who you are and your guest's name only, and then move it along. We're going to see if we can do it this year. All right. Looks like we've got Sarju up first. Hi, Sarju.
Hi, President Heather. Hi, everyone. Sarju Naran with Hoke Fenton. My sponsor is Gene Serpa. I have three amazing guests today. One is Vivian Tran, who this is her second visit, so
wow,
fingers
nice.
crossed.
Welcome back.
And I've got my two daughters with me today. This is Jasmine, and we got Mia here as well, who's unwilling to stand up. So don't show her any attention.
We love you, Mia. Thank you so much. Okay, it looks like we've got Carl Salas next.
Hey, I've had my co-grandparent from Florida, Fred Burgess.
Hi, Fred. Thanks so much.
I've also got Stacy Travio and Olivia Sosa. You'll learn more about Olivia soon. They're involved with our youth exchange program.
Wonderful. All right, help me out in the audience. Who's next? Hi, Emily.
Hello there. I would like to introduce my guest, Grace Liu, who is the wife of our former Rotarian, Thing Do. And we will also be having our next downtown happy hour at Fountainhead, which is why we have Grace here as a guest.
Thank you so much. We love Things so much. Wonderful Rotarian. All right, who's next? Audrey, hello.
Hello, President Heather. Audrey Fox. I have two guests today, Allison Landers and Steve Crandell. And fun fact, Steve's father, Bob Crandell, was a longtime active member of this club.
Wonderful. Great to see you in the Rotary family. Thank you. All right, I think we've got Kirk today.
Hey, President Heather, Kirk Wallachevich, and you are my wonderful sponsor.
Thank you.
And I'd like to introduce James Leventhal. He's the Executive Director at the ICA.
Wonderful. Great to have you, James. All right, who do we have next? We're going to go speeding here. Larry.
President Heather, Larry Donatoni, Private University Development. It's my pleasure to introduce Brienne Ghafourifar, who is the mother of our speaker. So she is joining us today. We also have two guests in transit that are running a little bit late. Dr. Christian Ghafourifar, Dr. Christian Niagu, who is the pediatric surgeon at Kaiser Santa Clara, and his son Nolan, who is a junior at Santa Clara and is an intern with Enofi, which is Brienne's company. So
I look forward to seeing those two seats filled shortly. Thank you so much for being here.
President Heather, it's Ireneo. Matt Bell was my sponsor. I came up last week.
Welcome.
Thank you. And I want to introduce my guest, Jessica, who is my coworker at Robert Half.
Hi, Jessica. Thanks for being here with us today. All right, I think we've got Johnny next.
Johnny Camus, former council member, and my guest for the second time is Dr. Howie Chang, who's a chiropractor in the Cambrian district area.
Go Cambrian Park, my home district.
Heather, I forgot I have another guest. Hugh King is here somewhere. He's our senior electrical engineer at Salos O'Brien. There he is.
Hi, Hugh. Welcome. All right. Did we do it?
Not yet.
Oh, gosh.
Hi, President
Kelly.
Heather.
Hi,
this
Kelly.
is Kelly Dipple, Coldwell Banker Real Estate Advisor. I would like to introduce to you my very good friend, Nick Campo, who is co-founder of Levitt Pacific Insurance Brokers.
Welcome, Nick. Glad you're here. Arthur Chu, so great to see you.
Hi, President Heather. I have two guests today. One is a second-time returning, also Rotarian, Jason Munyon, and he is a limited partner in a private equity Stanford 24 Fund, as well as former work at the UN, interested in economic development.
I'm appropriately intimidated. Thank you.
Second guest is Skylar Greenman. He's finally relocated from Silicon Slopes to Silicon Valley, and he is an entrepreneur par excellence, here to hear our speaker today.
Also intimidated. Thank you for being here. All right, I think we...
Hi, President Heather. Saving the best for last, my friend Diane Lynch, Vice President at Ameritrade.
Diane! So great to see you, Diane. Wonderful. I think we've got one more.
Thank you. President Heather,
Hi, Shashir.
we have some visitors from India, Gautam Mehta and his wife Santosh. They are from South India, close to Bangalore, visiting us for the first time.
Wonderful. We were able to grab a photo in the lobby, and I know they don't have a flag to exchange here, but I do want to shout out that he's been a Rotarian for 50 years. Thank you for visiting our club. All right, did we do it? Did we do it? Oh my gosh, and we're still on time. Thank you so much for helping with guest introductions. Next up, we have and thank you Red Badgers for your help in getting around the room. That was very honorable. Okay, new member introduction. Kelly Dipple, come on up with Chris Carroll. And after when Kelly's done, she's gonna stick around with us for a minute.
We're doing great. You're actually ahead of time. Miraculous. I know. Hello, everyone. I would like to introduce to you Chris Carroll. Chris Carroll is with Kopenbarger & Kopenbarger, CEO, and I don't want to do all the talking. I want to let Chris tell you a little bit about himself, but I will tell you he's a super fun guy. He loves to golf. He is married. He had 2 young children. And Chris?
Like Kelly said, I'm a super fun guy. That's really all you need to know. No, I've got like a minute, right? So thank you, Kelly. Appreciate it. My name is Chris Carroll. I'm delighted to be here as a new member of this amazing Rotary group. I'm very excited about the opportunity to work with you all. There's so many amazing, diverse, and accomplished people here, and I'm really excited to get to know all of you. Like Kelly said, I'm married. I have 2 young kids. I have a 7-year-old daughter and a 1-year-old boy. Very happy about that, playing soccer and learning how to walk right now. It's been quite the adventure. I am the CEO of the Kopenbarger Law Firm, which is a full-service estate planning and elder law firm. We've got 9 offices across the state of California. One of the things that we do is help families build legacies, not unlike what Rotary does around the world. I'm very excited to be part of Rotary's legacy building across the world and in our local community. Very excited about doing it all with you, so thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Let's welcome our newest Rotarian. Thank you.
President.
Thank you so much. Kelly, will you stick around and tell us about Service for Seniors?
Yes. So I also wanted just to mention quickly that Chris was one of the first Red Badgers to step up and join Service to Seniors. So Service to Seniors is a group of people here in Rotary. If you'd like to join our committee, there's no planned meetings, but basically what our committee does, and unlike Chris, I need glasses to see. So our goal is to enrich the lives of seniors by providing interactive entertainment and support to different senior communities throughout the area. And we were approached by Maroney Gardens, which is a low-income senior housing and right off of Almaden Expressway by Cherry, and they asked if we would help them with a luau, and so we said yes. So what we're doing is on August the 23rd, it's a Friday, about 11:30 for setup, 12 to 2 is the actual event. We're going to be hosting a luau for Maroney Gardens, and what does that mean? That means serving food. Cindy Faulkner's group, the hospitality and culinary, they're providing cakes. We're going to have decorations and games and just providing some interactive fun and support and just making these guys just feel welcome and having a great day. And so if you'd like to participate in the Maroney Gardens on August the 23rd, I will have a sign-up sheet outside after the meeting, and if you would like to join Service to Seniors, we would love to have you. We have a lot of fun things planned throughout the year. We have something planned on Halloween for Live Oak Adult Daycare coming up, and we would love to have you. And like I said, no planned meetings, just fun and providing support and interactive games and lively to the communities.
Wonderful. Thank you, Kelly. You're welcome. Thank you so much. I'm going to skip to just a sneak preview of that. And there we go. Oh, my AV team totally has my back. All right, we have a fantastic district update with Brenda now. Brenda, thank you so much for joining us.
All right, so I just thought I would just, the beginning of Heather's year here, and, in her theme of kaleidoscope, right? So she's talked about this kaleidoscope as it pertains to our club, but also we can think of Rotary International as a much bigger kaleidoscope. You can see by the numbers on, on this page. We're one of the largest service clubs in the world. There is some debate of whether Lions Club is bigger or not, but we know that we're best, so that's all that really matters. But, look at the numbers there. I mean, 1.4 million people, and we spend a lot of hours on, community service. And then and Rotary International spends a lot of money on service projects. But one of the things that you may not realize is that our district is a big part of that. Our district that we belong to, 5170, it's one of the largest districts in the world. We participate in 10% of the worldwide global grant projects, right? I mean, that's pretty impressive. We are generally within the top 10% of givers to the Rotary Foundation. The district gives over $1 million every year. I mean, so we are actually a big part of what Rotary is doing. And I think that's something that we should take advantage of as a club. Now, one thing is like that when we give money to the district, it does come back to us. We give it to the foundation, it comes back to us through the district. It doesn't just go someplace else. And it's a little bit of a complicated story, but I won't go into it, but because it could be a whole session in itself about how that gets calculated. But what I want people to think about is, when we ask you to pay the $400 for the contributions to the Rotary, to our foundation as well as to the Rotary Foundation, that money does come back to us. And we have control over how much that money comes back. Because what happens is 50% of that money will come back to the district, and then they allocate it to all of the clubs based on our pro rata contributions for the past 3 years. So the more we give, the more we get. And we take those funds and we finance our global projects with those. So really think about that. I mean, it's a way of paying it forward, right? So anyways, I wanted to point that out to you guys. And one thing I also wanted to do is remind everyone here that there's opportunities to get to know what's going on in the district or how Rotary works. And so on this page here, I've highlighted a few of those things. There's the avenues of service, which is going to be a Milpitas. It basically, the clubs come in and they talk about how they are focusing on the Rotary areas of focus. You get to meet other people, you get to get ideas for projects, you might find that there's a project you're interested in or maybe a way to collab, right? So that's one of the places. Obviously, there's a district conference, which I've seen many of you attend before. Again, there's a lot of motivational, inspirational speakers, as well as the House of Friendship, where you can also learn about what's going on outside of our club. The International Convention is kind of like a district conference on steroids, right? Instead of just a district, it's like worldwide. And that's very impressive. Again, inspirational speakers, you get to meet people from other countries, you get to learn about other clubs and what they're doing, and you might find an international partner if you want to do a global project. And then finally, there's a District Leadership Academy. I am a graduate of that program, as well as Helen Lambert, who's not here. But both of us agree that it's very intense. So be wary. I've had to call on my inner Kelly Clarkson, what doesn't kill you make you stronger, a few times during that, because it's very intense, but it really tells you how Rotary works It tells you, how the international works. It teaches you about the global grants process. And, and it's self-directed, but you can do it like, Helen and I did some projects together and that kind of stuff. You actually write a mini global grant. Even though once I did a real one, I realized it was still harder than what it felt like in the class. And I thought it was hard in the class. So, but yeah, definitely, you should consider those kind of options, especially for your newer members, because you can really learn a lot. And then, then you take that through your whole Rotary journey. And then I just also put up here, there's another event happening in Roher Park where Jennifer Jones, our former president, or RI president, will be speaking. So I put that up there in case you're interested. If you have any questions about any of this stuff, if you can go look on the website, or you can reach out to me. If you want to ask about the District Leadership Academy, you can also talk to Helen. But it's really something to consider to get to know the greater kaleidoscope out there.
Thank you, Brenda. Thank you, Brenda. I want to give a shout out to Maggie Padavani and then, of course, Brenda for really strengthening our club's bond with the district. I was kind of a little bit out there. I didn't really bond with the district before, and because of your leadership, and I think because of you, Brenda, many of us attended the district conference because you are Rotarian of the Year, for those of you that don't know in the room. Yeah, Rotarian of the Year, not too shabby. Carl, I think you've got some fun updates for us. Come on up here, Carl Salas in Youth Exchange. The little smattering, that smattering will be turning into a thunderous rounding of applause when you're done. I just know it.
Hey, finally, after COVID, long ago it seems, the Youth Exchange Committee has started back up again. For you who don't know about Youth Exchange, it's just one person every year. We send a high school student out somewhere in the world to spend typically their junior year in high school, totally immersed with host families, Rotarians in high school. And we get one back. I am just thrilled to introduce you to, or she's going to introduce herself, our outbound Olivia Rose Sosa, who is going out to Spain, and she'll tell you a little bit about herself.
Welcome, Olivia.
Hello, everyone. My name's Olivia Souza. I'm a senior at Mount Pleasant High School, and I'm really excited to be representing the Rotary Club of San Jose in Navas, Spain. This year. What I'm most looking forward to is experiencing a new culture, meeting new people, becoming fluent in Spanish, developing independence, and gaining life experience. What I'm most nervous about is being surrounded by people I don't know and not being able to communicate effectively with them. However, I have a great support team in Spain, such as my counselors and host family, if I ever need someone to talk to. I want to thank the Rotary Club of San Jose for sponsoring me and giving me the chance to experience this once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. Gracias.
Now, before you go, I know you guys like to collect a lot of pins, so I just took the pin off of my badge and I'm giving it to you. This is a rotary polio pin to start you off, because I know you're going to just be covered in metal. You won't be able to get through the metal detector at the airport, but
Thank you so much.
where's Stacy? Where's her mom, Stacy? Oh, I want to give you a special shout out because Stacy is actually hosting our inbound for the year. Now, before it used to be that we hosted our if you were a host, you hosted for 1/3 of the year, and Stacy's hosting the entire year. Stacy, thank you for making this program possible. All right. We've got a little bit of President's time, and I think we're doing just fine on time. You were doing fabulous. Okay, dues are due. The dues are due. Yeah, you probably got the email before and then you might have deleted it. You might have just said, what is that? But now they're really due, and they're due because we've already written the big check to Rotary in advance. So if you guys could pay those dues, that'd be awesome. We're going for 100% participation because it's mandatory. All right. All righty. I really want to give a special shout out to Scott's this week. We had some feedback about maybe moving the lunch line a little bit faster. They were able to pivot for us and open up both sides of the lunch line. The service just keeps getting better and better. And the only thing that they ask of us is that we arrive on time. And if you have those great conversations that are happening in the lobby, and I am definitely guilty of that, kind of grab your little conversation partner with you and bring them along to the food line and continue that there. Everyone was seated on time today. It was fantastic. Thank you very much. All right. We do have one more thing on the lunches. I want to thank everyone here who purchased a lunch. When you purchase a lunch, 3 things happen. You're supporting a downtown business. You're getting a property back online for rentals for all the nonprofits and galas and groups that need to host their events. That's a really important thing that we do here at the Rotary Summit Center. So hopefully you're going to get the word out with fantastic catering. You're also preventing that the plastic monster, the plastic gyre, you're preventing that. We used to have 4 or 5 garbage cans in the back of the room after every meeting filled with trash. There are 0 garbage cans in the back of the room for the last 4 weeks. In addition, nice, huh? Thank you. In addition, we're helping with the food safety net. Any food that's left over at the end of our meeting, Scott's packages up safely and gets to this food insecure. So you're getting a triple hit here with your lunch. So thank you so much for ordering lunch. Order early, order often. Those lunch forms go out on Fridays, and it really helps us with the head count if you order ahead. Thank you so much. All right. Is Blake Ward here today? Then Blake Ward, you know what's not happening? You're not getting a lollipop. And that makes me sad because it's your birthday, and I really want to celebrate your birthday with you. So if you are celebrating your birthday here with us on your actual birthday, magical things happen. So just make sure that I know that it's your birthday so I can give you some special love. Blake, I'll keep this for you. Wait till next week. And then finally, we have a few more tickets left over the county fair. I had such a great time at the county fair. Went with Matt and Emily Robin, got my goat time in, got my corn dog in, all the things. And we have about 9 tickets left. So if you want to go to the county fair, it starts up again this week on Thursday. And I don't want to brag. I know you guys are really admiring my jacket today, but the really reason I'm wearing this is because I don't usually wear t-shirts with writing on them, but today, my pig won. Not only did my pig win, I won this t-shirt. And I'm wearing a t-shirt with writing, which is a score for the team, really, truly. All right, let's get up here. Larry, come on up to introduce our speaker. Thank you, Larry.
I wish I had a t-shirt like that, jeez. Today, our speaker, Brienne Ghafourifar, is no stranger to our club. She was the ELC speaker back in 2015. At 17, Brienne graduated in 2012 with a BSc degree in economics from Santa Clara University, along with a world record, but I'll let her tell you about the world record. At 18, Brienne was highlighted with 5 other women, entrepreneurs, in a documentary films. She started it, focused on giving a new face to the popular image of tech entrepreneurs, and that was a face of women as entrepreneurs. Today, as she is defined as a full-stack entrepreneur, and she'll define that for you in her presentation, on a mission to build disruptive technologies that can help people live and work better. When I first met Brienne back in 2012, she spoke of a vision she and her brother Alston had for their company. Little did I realize, nor in fact did I really understand what she was talking about, that she was sharing some of the very early stages of what today we all know and hear about on a regular basis called artificial intelligence, AI. So let's all give a Rotary welcome to my friend and fellow Bronco, Brienne Ghafourifar.
Boy. So glad Larry did that introduction so I didn't have to do it. Thank you. Thank you. Well, as you guys know, AI is a very big topic of conversation today. So thank you so much for having me so I can share a little bit about myself and Entify and the state of the AI market. Just a small fun fact, this photo was actually generated via Gen AI. So just a small little piece of information as we dive into what we're going to be talking about today. Larry covered some of this, but I'll just share a little bit of context. So my name is Brienne Ghafourifar. I have the privilege of having 15 patents in my name issued by the USPTO. A lot of innovation in communication, data privacy, different aspects of security and AI. Our company, Entify, I co-founded with my brother Alston back in 2012. I can't believe, Larry, we go back that far. It's amazing. We started in Palo Alto, and you know, back when we started, the world of AI was more of a technical undertone in the technology market. It was more of a area where academia was more pioneering, right? So it was an area of research. Today, it's at the forefront for consumers and businesses and everything in between. We spent about 250,000 man-hours building out our core platform before we got to a point where we felt we could build the competitive wall against you know, the market and other people in our space, where we could actually release it to customers and businesses and enterprises. Hundreds of trade secrets, patents. So it's a pretty strong platform. We're focused on, you know, general intelligence for the enterprise. We're right at the intersection of generative AI, hyperautomation, and analytical AI. And the beauty of the platform is being able to bring those different pieces together and be able to apply different types of technology to really achieve what organizations need. Needs for organizations and businesses, they ebb and flow over time, depending on what use cases are at their top priority list. So we have really the first end-to-end multi-sensory platform. And it's funny, it's evolved quite a bit. So when we started, sorry, I want to make sure you guys can hear me okay. When we started in communication. So at the time in 2012, you know, it was all about mobile and social and cloud and where those kind of intersect. There was a information overload problem as a individual. I'm at Santa Clara University, and I'm remembering I have all these different apps, the different services, the different devices, and I'm feeling very overwhelmed. Jumping in and out of different devices, different social media profiles, different texts, emails. And I was getting that feeling of too much information in too many different places, and I'm feeling bombarded. So we started at Entify figuring out how do we start to consolidate the different communication channels? How do we bring everything into one place so that when I communicate with, you know, my brother Alston, I can just see everything from Alston, all of his attachments, all of his messages. I don't have to go to all these different places. So that's really where the start of Entify happened. It was in trying to solve that problem. You quickly realize that communication and messaging is just one aspect of that. When I'm dealing with attachments, I'm dealing with images and videos and audio files and different types of information. So it quickly became a multi-modality challenge, and that's where AI has to play a part, right? I have to start to search through my content. I have to start to search through, you know, how do I find that clip of Justin Timberlake wearing the yellow coat, you know, in the scene in Ellen DeGeneres back in, you know, August of 2012, you know? So in order to find that kind of information, you have to have a multi-sensory data pipeline. And that's where our AI initiative really started. We were a little bit early, I would say, at the time for that general public conversation. But imagine you have that use case as an individual. Now, what are enterprises dealing with? They're dealing with massive data systems, bigger data lakes. They're dealing with much more robust infrastructure, more teams, more people, more responsibilities. So now if we take that personalized problem and we apply it to bigger companies, now we want to start to solve a bigger problem at a bigger scale. And then what does that look like? So we fast forward to today, and now we no longer have to explain to people what AI is or why does it matter. It becomes, okay, how is what you're doing different from what somebody else is doing? And what's the difference between, Gen AI or analytical AI or automation, and how do they all play together, and how does it help me today? So the conversation has just evolved over time, and the strength and the noise and the tone of the conversation has really changed. The technology, I would say, has always been there. It's just a matter of how advanced it's become. So there's some really interesting buzz in the AI market right now. It's the sound is loud, and it's impacting the market in a couple of different ways that I wanted to highlight here. Generative AI investments are skyrocketing, and if you look at the past several years, you'll see that over time, it's been there. It's always been an undertone, but over the past year or so, you'll see that the investments have grown significantly. So while the corporate investments were down overall last year, the AI investment in generative specifically grew extremely strong. And why is that? I mean, the assumption is that with the growth in GPTs and DALL-E, ChatGPT came out a couple of years ago, the conversation grew far and wide, and now there's a fervor, right? We want to figure out how we can take a piece of that pie. And the assumption is that a lot of this is coming in the United States mostly. Although there's a global stage, US is putting in a lot of private investment into AI, and specifically into Gen AI, which I'm sure a lot of you guys know already, and you're watching the news just as much as I am. We spent a lot of time in the field as well. So corporate investment and private investment, this is a big area of focus right now. It's only getting stronger. The other one is how much AI is just part of the general conversation. Fortune 500 companies and just companies in general, most also specifically government entities and regulators are talking about AI more than ever before. So just being able to say, AI is a part of my business, or I'm bringing AI into our discussion, or we're using AI in our organization, has had more of an impact over the past couple of years than ever before. So US regulators are starting to talk about AI. How are they incorporating that into decisions that are being made? With the growth of AI, there's also a talk about, how do we restrict AI? How do we put boundaries around AI? These are all part of growing conversations. So 80% of the companies in this particular study talked about AI in their earnings calls. And with that discussion, that creates more attention around the space. Again, no surprise there. What's also interesting is the actual outcomes of these kinds of conversations. So it's not just the talk around it, it's also leads to action. So some studies have come out that costs are actually going down, revenues are going up. So as just a general statistic, 42% when they're doing these surveys, 42% are saying that they've seen general reductions in costs, and almost 60% are saying that they're seeing increased revenues in very specific places. So you talk about, manufacturing, supply chain, some of these specific areas in service operations. Our company in particular, we actually have deployed products and releases in specific areas that are on this list, and companies that are leveraging utilities and AI in these domains are actually seeing changes being affected. So this connects to something I'll show you later about how many companies are actually considered to be AI mature, how many are actually utilizing deployed products and services in their global operations. So you can see the outputs of AI materialized in very specific areas and use cases. And how does that connect? So there are some positive side effects of the general conversation of what we call the AI gold rush, right? This is what we're seeing today. There's a bunch of new career opportunities. There are a lot of companies who have built in-house teams, a lot of companies who've built out Gen AI experts or machine learning experts, DSML experts, right? So these are companies that are establishing AI within their enterprises. So there are more DSML roles than ever before, right? Or machine learning roles. 67% of mature organizations are creating these roles internally, and many of these companies already have dedicated AI teams. This is something that wasn't the case many years ago, right? So this is a new discussion. There's also investment in AI literacy. One of the things I was talking to Larry about recently is it's really important to have AI education as part of the discussion. What am I putting in my organization? How are we training? How are we installing? What's the infrastructure needed? What services are going to be required to create customizations and integrations? Is IT informed and aware of what's needed over the next 10 years to grow this within my enterprise? Who are the partners we need to establish? AI literacy is a very important part of this conversation, I think more than what's appreciated today in many ways. Overall skills augmentation, making sure that people are aware of how AI can augment our daily life. I think there's a general, I'll call it maybe fear, maybe it's just a part of a misconception in some ways, which is AI is going to replace my job. How many of you guys have felt that or think about that sometimes, that AI will automate me out of a job? I mean, it is the reality, sort of like maybe the way someone would feel that, or we've all felt that with the internet. When the internet came around, there was a little bit of the same thing. The difference is AI has grown at so much of a faster rate than any other technology S-curve before us. So there is that fear, right? There's some things that we just do repeatedly every day where it's like, oh my gosh, AI is coming, it's going to swap me out of a job. What's interesting though is AI is meant ideally to be an augmentation. I do a job, AI can come in and do it, make my 10 hours of work 1 hour so that I can do other things more effectively. Just like internet came in and made it possible for me to do my daily work more effectively. Now I can do more today than I could do 10, 20 years ago. I think this is the beauty of technology and now of artificial intelligence. And whatever AI is doing better than what I could do manually, we want technology to do that so that we can do things that we as humans do better. Creative functions, right? Artistic functions, more creative thinking, more strategic functions. These are things we don't want technology to do for us. And in fact, it could be scary, right, if technology does those things for us. So this is part of an evolving conversation. The augmentation piece is really critical in understanding where we don't want technology to make core decisions. Instead, we want it to make recommendations, right? The human is needed at the end. Technical advancements is huge. For the first time in a while, and I think it's a growing part of the discussion, companies and industry is leading this innovation. A few years back, when we started the business, academia was leading a lot of the innovation and research was leading a lot of the innovation. And today, industry is starting to lead more and more of the innovation every year, right? So there's like this competitive discussion about, okay, how do we build, and then push open source, right? So that other people can build, and then take that over and improve the state of the art. So in 2023, industry produced 51 notable machine learning models, while academia contributed only 15, right? That's a very different trend than what was the case a few years prior. Overall increased productivity. We want AI to increase our productivity. We want to beat our benchmarks every year. That's how we grow as organizations and how we leverage our own resources. So there's a lot more. There's a lot of positive side effects of the gold rush. So we have to ask ourselves, how can businesses stay safely ahead of the curve in AI? And there's a couple of predictions here and just general stats, which is one of them being that Gen AI is the #1 AI solution deployed in organizations. This is according to a Gartner study. And that's really interesting. And if that's the case, and that's what the observation is generally, then we need to make sure that we're understanding what it means to put Gen AI in our organizations, in our data, in our infrastructure, implemented by our teams, because there's a lot of other considerations. AI safety, compliance, general risk, compute costs, right? There's a lot of things we'll have to start thinking about when we throw big learning language, generative models and GPTs, and we start leveraging this with our information, which in some cases are very broad, very large. There's some very important aspects to this, and we'll get to that in a second. So where are the transformation opportunities? If I'm an enterprise or a business today, and I start thinking about how can I use AI and how can I leverage that? Because believe it or not, you don't need to be a tech company to be dealing with AI. It may have thought when we started and we started talking about AI and people are like, I'm not a tech company. What do I care about AI? Today, I'm talking to construction companies and they're talking about their AI strategy for 2024 and 2025. If you're a construction company and you're talking about your AI strategy, I mean, how much lower level can construction be from technology, right? It's a very different down-to-earth, on-the-ground business versus technology, which is as close to the cloud as you can get, right? It's a completely different type of business. So everybody needs to at least be thinking about it in terms of how can they leverage it in their operations to strengthen their business. So customer relationships, improving productivity, growing sales, cutting costs, limiting human error risks, boosting operations or automation, increasing or improving decision-making, Augmenting, again, the job processes, right? Things like predicting supply chain risks or threats, or predicting prices of, commodities, things like this, right? We'll do things where we want, customers want us to check what the prediction on, cotton may be, or the prediction of a raw material may be, so they can get ahead of that and then make different decisions in the end with their suppliers. So let's check the reality, though. With all those use cases, and with as much as we hear about in the news, there are only about 9% of organizations that are considered to be AI mature. And what does it mean to be AI mature, and what are these companies doing differently to actually be considered AI mature in the market today, with all the different things that everyone talks about? So they focus on the fundamentals, the foundational stuff, the kind of stuff that doesn't change no matter what's the buzzword of the day in a few days from now, right? They focus on the infrastructure. They focus on the AI engineering, the pipelines, the trust, risk, and security fundamentals. They manage their systems. They focus on their skills internally, the change management processes, getting the pipelines in place so that they can ingest data, have an infrastructure, produce output, and have their global teams use it, right? The kind of stuff where you start creating a real assembly line to be able to utilize AI and deploy for your team so you can leverage on a daily basis. The kind of stuff that establishes you ROI at the beginning and then scales ROI. And it's not like it's a one-time consulting process, it's an ongoing leveraging of results. That's the kind of stuff that you have to achieve in order to fulfill this AI maturity criteria. And that's only 9%. So it's not a huge number. So if you think about what it takes to be AI mature, what's limiting AI adoption in businesses today? And what are the kind of things that make that a challenge to achieve that? Well, it's kind of hard. Like it's not an easy process for sure. There are some challenges. The AI market is highly fragmented today. There's a lot of fragmentation, not only in companies, technology solutions, there's point solutions, there's platforms you have to consider. We were just talking about this earlier. If you're the company listening to a pitch today, you have to sift and sort through all these different providers. You have to understand the technical nuances, right? This is a challenge. Use cases are maybe all over the place, right? You've got this department that wants one thing, you've got that department that wants another thing. So do you hire different solutions, point solutions, or do you look for someone who can generalize? Do you partner? So building and managing AI solutions can be tough for many reasons. There's cost considerations. If you take a bespoke approach, it can be very expensive. Each use case, bespoke, building up from scratch, can be time consuming. You have to allocate budgets. You got to have in my opinion, you've got to start with the top with AI. A mandate from an executive, a high-level executive that has the budgeting power to say, this is becoming a priority of the organization, let's go execute, and that's got to trickle down all the layers to be able to materialize. By the way, the word entify means to materialize. The original word, E-N-T-I-F-Y. We changed the spelling to be more creative, but it means to materialize. So bring something to life. So we can entify AI use cases for this purpose. But data security and privacy are considerations. Explainability of AI. There's some types of AI when it comes to deep learning where you have this black box challenge, right? So, you go into a banking use case, you create a process, you use machine learning to do decision making. It can be a challenge if you have to have explainable AI and then you use other AI techniques where you can't actually explain it, right? The model is doing learning and it won't be able to break it down, right? Limiting of resources. Some companies, they can't afford to have teams internally, or they don't have the budgets to use external resources, or, oh, my favorite is infrastructure. AI infrastructure is very expensive. It's become, I should say it can be very expensive, especially if you're doing it yourself. If you partner, there are ways to leverage that. But AI infrastructure, especially if you're doing it yourself, can be very taxing, expensive, and hard to manage. So anyway, we'll come back to that. But how can we ensure that AI implementations are successful if you want to bring in AI into your business? You want to avoid these 5 common missteps. Unrealistic expectations, data considerations, try to bring in the data that you need. Try to make sure your company is AI ready from a data perspective. You want to avoid planning for the short term. You want to plan for the long term. You want to make sure that you're rollouts aren't failing because your teams aren't ready to manage them or to plan effectively. And you want to make sure that your teams are not using the latest technique of the day because that's the buzzword. Last one I'll just leave you with, how do you stay up to date in AI? This is probably one of the more important. Attending events, partnering with industry experts. Not every company is meant to be an AI company. You keep an eye on the use cases that may apply to your business. We offer AI education sessions. This is, again, a very important part of the space. My favorite one at the end, don't feel bad if you don't know the latest buzzword. Thank you so much, guys.
Thank you. Stick around. Wonderful. We're going to go to some Q&A right now. Red badges with my, oh, look, they're already ready. Do we have anybody in the back of the room? All right. Over here, we've got Jeff Hare. He's looking like a Secret Service guy with those sunglasses on. All right. And then if we could get our next microphone up to Shiloh, up to here, and then Larry, I see you third position.
Excellent presentation, and what an exciting thing to be involved in. And we're still in the infancy. My first question and only question is, how are we going to get the grid to support the growth of AI? I'm concerned about the consumption, not just of electrical energy, but also the consumption of water necessary to cool the servers.
Can you hear? Yeah, sorry. Let's hope there's enough sand to solve that problem. But I think that's a big and evolving challenge, probably a discussion for a different day. But I generally think the infrastructural problem has to be handled at a couple levels. One is in the area you mentioned from an energy perspective, and then the other is in actual compute, constantly becoming more and more efficient to be able to not cause the first infrastructural problem that you identified at the energy level. So these are two parallel paths that have to come together to be able to handle what you're describing, because there's a data and compute challenge that's only going to get more and more difficult. And then there's an infrastructural challenge in physical infrastructure that needs to be handled to actually be able to, that actually needs to be able to handle the actual CPUs and GPU that's processing that's required to be able to serve up the kind of data and analytics that are going to be required over the next 10, 20 years. And that challenge is just only growing stronger and stronger every day.
Fantastic question. And while we're queuing up Shiloh, I'm going to have you come in here to this great photo set. Oh, I will let you know that I'm listening to my photography committee, making you look good. Stand right about there. And then you won't have to light on your face. Okay. All right, Shiloh.
Hello. Thanks. This gave us all, I think, a lot to think about. And I want to also just underscore the question that Jeff Hare raised as really important. Going back to one of the slides you had about cost savings, that's super exciting that, there are these cost benefits, and that what took us 10 hours before can take us 1 hour now. My question would be, how do we ensure that, I think we would want to ensure that the productivity gains and the cost savings are accrued to the workforce more generally, as opposed to what we've seen in the past, that those productivity gains tend to be accrued to those who are at the top of the economic food chain. So I'm curious to hear how the industry is thinking about that, and I'll just put in a plug. That it is exciting that what used to take 10 hours could take 1. And I would like to not work 10 hours. I would like to then only do that 1 hour of work. And so how can we make sure that our end goal is for all of us to be working less and to use automation and AI so that we can do more of this and less of, sitting at our desk working?
Right. I think part of the goal is to leverage tools, I guess, for each of us individually, to leverage tools so that we can do more of what we love, right? We want to create technology so that we can all live and work better. And I think if we're able to take the mundane, repeatable tasks and automate them in such a way where we're spending less hours on things that we don't need to be doing. Let's take, things like Excel, right? Things like functions that are repeatable. Eventually, Excel came around so that you don't have to use calculator, right? Or digital calculators came around so you don't have to do things manually. When technology comes around to automate and create functions where you can input and get a quick output versus do things manually on scratch pads, it eventually gets you to a point where you can allocate your hours elsewhere. Whether we want to spend an hour and get paid for 10 hours is a different conversation. Maybe something that should be negotiated with your employer. But the idea of elevating our skill sets at each time, right? We want to adjust our brains so that we are learning and growing and not getting stuck in the mundane details. And I think at that point, our functions will be more appreciated and will continue to become more and more creative, which is what humans do best. And I think that's probably the holy grail at every step. So at some point, you want machines to start and create that augmentation. And then at other points, you want to continue to grow at what you excel at. And also, I think some of those functions at a human level, the human skill, where the human skill is needed, will also grow in importance. There are some things that will grow less important when machines are doing them, and the human areas where humans are needed will grow more and more important from an organization standpoint. AI will do something. It will ask the human, is this good or not good, because it will give you that confidence ratio. The human will then have to go in and say, yes, this is important or no, because humans still have something called an intuition. And then the machines will need that. The organizations will need that. And then that will elevate the importance of that human role. And I think that those pieces are all happening at the same time. That's at least what we're seeing in industry. We value those human skills, which are things that machines cannot do today, at least.
What a great answer to a very tough question. Thank you. We're going to go with Larry next, and then Brad, and then Ed.
Thank you for an excellent presentation in a very short period of time. I learned a lot, and I've followed this. I'm going to talk about the job loss. Morgan Stanley economist said about 6 months ago that 25% of all jobs will be eliminated permanently. That's tens of millions of jobs. The question is, there's talk about if that happens, how do we support these people? Guaranteed income, it comes alive again because of that. Some people think that it's not the same as computers. When people made the same claim on computers, they actually created more jobs than it took away.
Sure.
But that's not the case, at least according to the economists on AI. So I'd like you to respond to that.
My feeling is that it's just a matter of maybe a little bit of time and adjustment and understanding where AI fits in organizations. I think today things are a little bit rushed, or they're feeling a little bit rushed. There's so much pressure from the outside. I think, many years ago, maybe 10 years ago, a lot of the pressure from the outside was about innovation. Pushing innovation. How can we innovate ahead of our competition? How can we add, more IP, and how can we push innovation as a way to keep ahead from everybody else in the market? Today, it's that change has been AI. How do we push AI, right? How do we bring AI into our business? How do we add, more automation, augmentation, which is great, and I think it's very important. I think businesses are eventually, or soon in the next year or 2 or 3, going to try to figure out where the balance is between personnel and AI augmentation, and where that sweet spot is. Because when you're coming in and you're swapping AI for people right away, you're maybe going to find some challenges in how that's turning out, depending on what you're doing that swap for. If it's something that's fully repeatable and requires no human oversight, maybe that swap is good, and then maybe you're reapplying that human skill set to a different part of a department or to a different series of tasks. That's great. But if you're swapping humans out for a process that's mixed, requires human oversight, but you've swapped it for AI decisioning, which is not fully accurate, not fully error-free, maybe partially biased, things like this, which could be impacted in your training, your actual training, and that benchmarking will come out later, then they'll hit a challenge area. So I think some of those are very extreme decisions that are happening very quickly and may not have yet the data to support whether that's right or wrong. So I think this is still a learning and evolving that's happening in the market, and a lot of those decisions are made very quickly, maybe without all the data to support the outcome.
Fantastic. We just have 1 minute left. I'm sorry for those who still have questions. Will you stick around afterwards so they can chat with you afterwards? Okay, fantastic. Last question, please, Brad.
Thanks for coming in and talking to us. So my question is kind of on the tail end of that. One of your slides was showing all the challenges to AI. And the one I'm particularly interested in you talking about is, when personal computers started proliferating, it was garbage in, garbage out was one of the big concerns. And it seems like with a lot of these models, there are things that are going in that aren't either necessarily factual or true or whatever, or biased in some fashion. Could you comment on that?
Yes, absolutely. It's the same concept, right? Garbage in, garbage out. The models in this sense are delicate that way because your data set could be dirty, your data set could have bias, your data set could have faulty information, right? This hallucination concept comes about a little bit because of this, right? And I think if you have to be a little bit careful about what you throw in, when, where, how, and why, and then who's monitoring and who's cleaning and who's training. And I think some of those aspects are more and more important to understand upfront before you bring that kind of technology into your infrastructure and into your data set. And that's why there were a couple aspects in there about AI education, and AI oversight, and all of those skills are a little bit needed, and some of those review cycles are needed up front before you bring that technology in, because it's a little bit harder to control afterward. And if you do want to control it afterward, you want to make sure the experts are there to be able to know where to look, how to retrain, etc. Because if those things are missed, then you could get into the problem you just mentioned. You just ask very specific questions that have very specific answers, and you get something completely wrong and false. So I have a few stories on that I could share with you, but that's definitely a great concern and an area of real importance to start thinking about before you bring it into your organization.
Thank you so much for spending your time. Have a big round of applause, please.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. A gift in your name has been made to the Trash Punks, and they are our first quarter recipients of a gift from Rotary Club. And what they do is they clean up trash from our creeks and even globally to prevent that from going into our oceans. So, and also we have a lovely parting gift. Oh. These are premium walnuts, and if you're not a baker, become one. I'm a big agricultural nerd, as you all know. This is our gift to you. Thank you.
I am a baker, so thank you. Thank you.
All right, next week we've got a fantastic speaker, our very own Emily Robin. And if you've had a chance to have deep conversations with Emily, they're always invigorating. And she's going to be speaking with us on behavior change. If you've ever tried to change anything in your life, you know how we always default. So come next week and hear how we can change behaviors. And on that, I've got a couple final thoughts about behavior change. I want to let everybody know that every table in this room is open to everyone. There's no like special table here, I can't sit at that table there. It's all open seating all the time. And for Rotarians who've been here for a long time, if you could do me a favor and reach out to Red Badgers and proactively ask them to sit with you, make them feel welcome. I know the first time I walked into this room, I actually got a bit of a panic attack and I walked out. And then my sponsor's like, get back in here. And best decision I ever made. So let's make sure that our folks are welcome here. That's pretty much my final thought, although I did have a second request to see my t-shirt, so I'm going to do that, and we are adjourned.